Listen, I'm easy to find. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.
This is part 2 of episode 5, Big Nate Sports Talk podcast. In the previous part, we talked about the NFC West, the offseason focus. Kyler Murray's agent wrote a very, interesting letter that I thought was very, very interesting. We talked about Major League Baseball, dark day today after 27 years. As of yesterday, at 27 years, Major League Baseball first couple series are canceled. So then we talked about Ozzie Newsome in the segment on Sung African American Heroes in Sports. We recapped the Wizards versus the Pistons. We were just finishing up talking about college basketball. We talked about the Lady Terps. So as it progresses for the Big Ten tournament, hold on, let me make sure I have this right. Rutgers played today, and I figure someone who else played today for the women. Okay, so as it proceeds in the Big Ten tournament, Rutgers beat the number 13th ranked. Rutgers beat the number 12 ranked Penn State by 25. The final score was 75-50. That was surprising. And then Illinois, ranked number 14. They beat the number 11th ranked Wisconsin 75-66. So, with that being said, the second round tomorrow, it's going to be ranked number 9 Purdue versus ranked Michigan State. This will be on the Big Ten Network at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. Number 13th Rutgers versus number 5 Indiana, approximately around 1 p.m. on the Big Ten Network, 1 p.m. Central Time Standard. Number 10 Minnesota versus 7th Northwestern, 5:30 Central Time on the Big Ten Network. And then ranked number 14 Illinois versus ranked number 6 Nebraska, about at 8 o'clock Central Time on the Big Ten Network. Now, the quarterfinals is Friday. So the winner of whoever wins, the 13th seed, 12th seed, the 13th seed won. So that was Rutgers. So they play Indiana. So the winner of the Rutgers and Indiana game will play the University of Maryland Friday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, Big Ten Network. The winner of the Michigan State versus Purdue game plays Ohio State Friday. The winner of the Minnesota and Northwestern game, they will play Iowa. And then the winner of the 11th seed and the 6th seed, the 14th seed Illinois versus Nebraska, who wins that game will play ranked number 3, the 3 seed Michigan. The semifinals will be Saturday, and the finals will be Sunday. And then after that, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be Selection Sunday, which is on the 13th. That is pretty much it as it pertains to the tournament. The final seeds for the top 16 as it stands: South Carolina, Stanford, NC State, Louisville, Baylor, Iowa State, LSU, Michigan, UConn, Texas, Arizona, Maryland, Tennessee, Iowa, Indiana, and Oklahoma. We were actually broken down in the region. So in the Greensboro Greensboro region, South Carolina, Michigan, Yukon, Oklahoma, Bridgeport region, NC State, Iowa, Maryland, Tennessee, Spokane, Stafford, LSU, Texas, Indiana, and Wichita, Louisville, Baylor, Arizona. That's ranking and regional assignments based on the games that have been played through the 27th of last month. Not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, look, Stanford, they went into they were riding a 17-game win streak. Maryland, they picked it up there last bit. Because remember, I would say Maryland, we were a top 20 team. We were 16th. And to get within the top 15, I think a lot of it has to do with our performance last few weeks. So I got to give, much praise to the girls and Brenda Freeze and what they've done. They persevered. So be on the lookout for this coming on. Now, I also wanted to touch on there was another situation where I feel like with coaches, I don't like the fact that we're getting into this retrospect of why are we let me see. Where's the tweet? Because I thought it was kind of out of bounds. Okay, so here it is. Caitlin Clark actually set up her own teammate. I do feel like it was should have seen this coming. I'm going to play the clip because you've now. I don't. I feel like she set her own teammate up. I do. So where's it at? Oh, hold on. Wait, hold on. I gotta go back. Oh, I found it. Here's the tweet. As soon as I saw that, I was like, damn. Okay, so we're going to share this again. Caitlin Clark, I don't think she realized it, but she really set up her own teammate.
I'm lucky to play with her. You have all 5 starters returning next year as well, along with Monica, who will be using her COVID year. So that's something to look forward to as well because, she's an amazing player. I think she's the best big in the country, and, I'm lucky to play with her. You have all 5 starters returning next year as well, along with Monica, who will be using her COVID year. So that's something to look forward to as well because, she's an amazing player. I think she's the best big in the country. And you have all 5 starters returning next year as well, along with Monica, who will be using her COVID year. So that's something to look forward to as well because, she's an amazing player. I think she's the best big in the country. And, I'm lucky to play with her. You have all.
Naz Hillman, Angel Reese, Best big in the country. Boston. I don't think Caitlin really realized she just put a target on her teammates' back. I don't think she really realized that. Wow, to really sit there and say that Stano is the best big in the country, I think that's an overreach. I think when you have Naz Hillman, Angel Reese, and Aaliyah Boston, these coaches and players, I don't think they realize, like, you're putting a target, you're putting a bullseye on the player's back, because it's like, I don't understand why. Like, I mean, and that's also depending on too what it comes in next year. I think Caitlin's a bit. She had to bounce for that one. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, and on top of that, like, let's not forget, like, she's got to go through Maryland, Michigan. She's definitely going to go through some schools, and on top of that, I mean, you know what? I can't wait if they play South Carolina. I can't. But also to continue with the NCAA for women's basketball, North Carolina State's 26-3, and also they're 17-1 in the ACC. They beat Louisville, Virginia Tech, Indiana, Maryland, and Georgia Tech. But you also lost to South Carolina too. You lost by 9. Thank you very much. So yeah, those top 16 teams, I'm not surprised. I would say out of all of them, Maryland was a surprising one to me, because I felt like Maryland was going to be in the top 20. But I mean, other than that, it ain't going nowhere. So definitely be on the lookout for the bracket for the women's. I will work on the men's, but because I think it's really looking good. So also too, I gotta give Kim Mulkey some love in what she's done at LSU, because they're now a 2 seed in the SEC tournament. Got to give them some love. That's the first time they finished in that position since 2008. So from going to Baylor to LSU, congratulations. No doubt about that. But everything is going to have to go through either Stanford or South Carolina. So painful. We're going to now transition into Towson Basketball. The men finished their season. They are CAA champions. Congratulations, fellas. Go Tigers. We beat James Madison 95-59. We finished this regular season 24-7 on a 6-game win streak. And the CAA tournament starts. We either William and Mary or Northeastern. We got the semifinals on the 7th, and then the title game on the 8th. So, crossing my fingers, I'm hoping. I'm sorry, we didn't win the CAA. But I'm sorry. Regular season champs, we did. I apologize. We did. What am I talking about? I'm sorry. Also, too, we had a top 20. We made it to the top 25. Shout out for Towson. We mid-major top 25 basketball program. So we're ranked number 10 and as a basketball program. So shout out to the Tigers. Great job, fellas. The Towson Tigers are winning the CAA title.
Guaranteed.
Let's transition to the ladies. The ladies, they actually have 2 more games. Sunday, they beat Northeastern by a bucket, 57-56. They play the University of Delaware. It's a home game. We got 2 home games. It's Women's History Month game against Delaware, Thursday, 7 p.m. And then we got Drexel on Saturday, home game as well. And that's senior day for the Lady Tigers. So I hate senior day because it's like, it's the last year, getting ready to graduate, and it's like, damn. So, yes. The women, we don't know who's going to play just yet because the tournament starts on the 10th of March and it ends on the 13th. So we don't know just yet. So let's check out. Drexel, 15-1 in the conference, 23-3. Delaware, 20-6. While University of North Carolina at Wilmington, 3-23, 0-16 in the finals in the conference. Goodness, golly, that's embarrassing. What about the men? Where did the men finish? Had a bad team for the Colonial Athletic. Let's see. Northeastern finished 8-21, but technically William and Mary was the worst. But they're 4-14 in the conference, 5-26. Northeastern's 2-16. While the University of North Carolina, Wilmington's men's, they were 21-8, and 15-3 in the conference. But we had a better record. Wow. So go Tigers. Not all North Carolina teams can be legit. Well, I think it also too takes into consideration recruiting, and I think also too I think what you're recruiting, I do think that matters. I do. I do. So we're going to transition into the WNBA. I will cover at some point. I will cover the other tournament, other conferences for their players. They are legit. The men played them, and I've seen the highlight. And those boys can play down there for sure. In the WNBA, we're going to talk about a couple things. Free agency occurred for the WNBA. We're in week 5. Like I said, really, there's not a lot of moves that happened. Other than Aaliyah Wilson got waived by the Indiana Fever today. That was surprising. To me, this is a indicator of Lynn Dunn. She's trying to build a competitor. And I think we all know I have a feeling who they're going to take. They got Rhea Hartley. They could look for a point guard, but I do think their backcourt was a bit full. And I think Lynn Dunn is trying to win now. Aaliyah Wilson, excuse me. Texas A&M, great guard. I just felt like, again, the rotation never really worked out in Indiana. I'm hoping that she gets picked up. If I said Aaliyah Boston, I apologize. Aaliyah Wilson was waived by the Fever. So that happened. Imani McGee Stafford's the Dallas Wings re-announced her rights. So in other words, they pretty much released her. I was really kind of ecstatic for her to be back in the league because she's actually been away at law school. So I'm really hurt about that. I really am. So that sucks. I'm hopeful that she does get a contract with the team. But damn, not like even after being an AU. What? Not more than just a few days ago. And I'm thinking like, wow. But I think also to Dallas, I think the same thing. I think they have an idea what they're going to draft, and that sucks. Now, the biggest signing, and I'm really happy for her, Sydney Colston got a training camp contract with the Las Vegas Aces. I've always felt like Sydney Colston's she's always been a good point guard. I definitely think she brings veteran leadership. She definitely showed that in AU. She's definitely somebody you want on your team. Could they put her at the 2? They could. Yeah, Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray. So I mean, they'll probably work that rotation out. So now they signed her to a training camp contract, Kalani Brown to a training camp contract. If you've been paying attention with Athletes Unlimited, a lot of the girls that were there are getting opportunities. Mimi Jackson, Mystics, Taj Cole with the Connecticut Sun. There's opportunities that are being given. Those are just a couple off the top of my head. Pretty much that's what happened in the W. And I'm going to save the best for last. That's pretty much what's happening in week 5 of free agency. So there really hasn't been any other moves. Alexi Brown did not accept the qualifying offer for the Chicago Sky, which means she's a free agent. I'm really crossing my fingers somebody does pick her up. They need to sign. We need Lexi Brown in the league. I do think she brings a lot to the table, and it makes absolutely no sense that she's not signed. Monique Billings re-signed with the Atlanta Dream. What else? I mean, that's pretty much everything that's happening. We're going to transition into Athletes Unlimited, which brings my next point. Feedback. What I thought of the 5 weeks after everything. So pretty much, I was a little skeptical of it at first. I looked at it kind of like winter ball, after like the season, 5 weeks, pretty much here's opportunity, not an alternative to going overseas, because a couple of who were members of those that were on the roster were overseas. I know Lexi Brown was in France. Kalani Brown was over in Turkey. There's a few of them like that. And I was kind of like, I don't want this kind of like another backup WNBA, but I liked the point system. I thought that it brings a different competitive edge to the game, where if you're scoring a certain amount of points, you can be named team captain. I I like the idea of a tryout. I thought that was really good. I'm hoping that they expand the rosters from 44 to like 64, maybe 84. Just saying. My only really true issue I had was I just feel like for me, if you're a team, if you are a team captain, I feel this is just me. I know I may sound like man, like you like one of those type of team captains. If you had a player like, for example, Natasha Cloud, if she drafted Dejanay Carrington for 2 weeks straight, the next week she can't draft her. Like I kind of feel like for me, I thought the whole idea was to build chemistry with players that you may not have never played for and like learn their skill set, what they can, different things like that. I kind of was after like the first 3 weeks. I didn't really pick up on until week 4. Like, oh, okay, I think this is what everybody's comfortable with playing. But this is who they want their teammates with. I think everyone was the team captains were comfortable with those players. And I kind of feel like it should be mixed up a little bit better. Like I would like to see what Drew Edelman looks like with Isabel Harrison on her team. I mean, I'm just giving an example. I feel like it could be mixed up a little bit better. I do like the idea of the team captains. I do feel like if you're on the scoreboard and you stay there, yes, I like that until you're knocked off. I do like the idea that you had a season champion. Tiana Hawkins was the inaugural champion. I mean, other than that, I mean, the only thing I also say was an issue was accessibility to the games. Like most of the games were on Fox Sports 2, and then there's a couple games that are on CBS Sports Network. But I mean, if you don't have like Bally Sports Network, I'm hoping that changes. I mean, I know you can sign in through your provider, but like, I don't know. That was really kind of only because if I wanted to see Team Hawkins versus Team Cloud that came on Bally Sports Network at 11, I can't see that game. I missed that game. I think there should be an alternative. It could be live on Twitter. It could be live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. I think that should be kind of like alternatives. Well, okay, if you can't access Bally Sports Network, we'll have it live on YouTube. That's just me. I thought Cindy Brunson and Cheryl Swoops did their thing, announcing. I really liked the idea of the team captains being a coach and ensuring everyone got playing time. Because I guess seeing it from a perspective, of okay, being in charge of my team. This is, I know, okay, you get, you go on the court. How can I utilize my team? So I like that. Because I think it really got the girls really kind of, okay, this is how I would approach it. So I like that. I definitely like that. Overall, man, I think it was a great first season for Athletes Limited Pro basketball. I'm hopeful to see more more players from the W. I would even like to see college, if that's possible. Could you get a college athlete in there? To kind of get their feet wet before they go into the pros. I like to see if that would happen. But other than that, I mean, out of 10, it gets a solid 10 out of 10. So, with that being said, we're going to transition into Nathan's WNBA Mock Draft 1.0. It is officially up and going. But before we get into that, I definitely wanted to send really quick. I didn't say at the beginning of the show, previous part and this part, still praying for those in Ukraine with the situation with the Russian invasion. praying for everyone's safety, praying for better days, hoping that there's a resolution. Just praying. Also, too, I'm real grateful to hear that we had several WNBA ball players. Ty Harris was one, John Quell Jones, Azare Stevens. I know Brittany Griner's playing for Russia, a basketball team in Russia. Still got some other basketball players over there. So I'm hoping everybody I'm praying that everyone gets home safely. So I do know the Players Association is pretty much on standby with the players. So with that being said, as I was stating, the WNBA mock draft, this was real thoughtful. Ed, what's going on, bro? Appreciate you. Thank you. After much deliberation, this is the 1.0 mock draft. The draft is unannounced. We don't know the date for that. This took a lot. It was tough. I went forwards. I went backwards. Forwards. I looked at every player that I tried to follow as best as I could. And I looked at each of the 12 WNBA teams and see what each player could take and what was their need. Really quick, I am taking into account that trades did happen for a team. So, for example, the Dallas Wings have 2 first-round picks. Makes absolutely no sense. The Washington Mystics, the Indiana Fever, Atlanta Dream, and the Dallas Wings were your top 4 lottery picks. The Washington Mystics have the number 1 overall pick. Now, there will be a 2.0 coming soon after each tournament. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And there will most likely be a final 3.0 mock draft. And that one's definitely going to include a trade, because I definitely think, particularly within the top 10, there's going to be a trade. But with that being said, with the number 1 overall pick, the Washington Mystics select Ryan Howard. I'm looking at it like this. Washington has to figure out what it's going to do. My concern is, after this season, what is the identity of this team? Listen, as much as I love Elena Delle Donne, I don't know where she's at. I mean, she was on a Zoom call. She said she's, before they were on the FIBA tryouts, she said she's felt great, she's felt better in months. I just don't know where she's at. And I feel like this is definitely somebody they can build with, because I'm looking at it like this. Washington, I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna say 1, but if you push me 2 years, with right now, Elena, Natasha, Maisha Hines-Allen, Ariel Atkins, then you bring back Alicia Clark if she comes back, when she comes back healthy. The Washington Mystics window to win right now is either going to be next year or the following year. Guaranteed. So I really feel like we can all make the argument, Ryan Howard or Nalasia Smith. But I feel like, and right now, Ryan Howard is the smart pick. 1, because I could see her being the cornerstone franchise to take the reins from Elena Delle Donne. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Nalasia Smith, yes, okay, I understand that, but I'm just looking at the future. That's just me for the Mystics. With that being said, with the number 2 overall pick, the Indiana Fever select Nalasia Smith. Now, one of these two are going to be the first, second overall pick. Take your pick. Now, most likely when she gets into the W, she's going to play the 4 or the 5. I think she's going to play the 4. I think she'll complement Tiara McCowan well, because I like, particularly at the elbow, I like her game. Now, she's not a 3-point shooter, but she has a good mid-range. And I feel like that's definitely can be a key. Now, her ability to get to the rim, especially in transition, is probably some of the best basketball I have seen. Now, I don't feel like – I look at Indiana. They have Kelsey Mitchell, Tiffany Mitchell, Tiara McCowan. I think those are the 3 to build around, in my personal opinion. We can all agree. We can agree, disagree. Kaiser Geinerzik was a reach. The year before, I don't think, not saying it wasn't Lauren Cox. I think having Lauren Cox and Tiara McCowan on the floor at the same time, that was not smart. I think this pick makes more sense. Particularly, I definitely feel like her jump shot and her ball handling, they will definitely improve. And I feel like Indiana, I think Lynn Dunn would definitely appreciate a player like that. Next, with the number 3 overall pick, the Atlanta Dream select Shakira Austin. Pretty much the Atlanta Dream are
now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Okay, the Atlanta Dream practically have, if you look at their roster, okay, outside of Ari McDonald, Cheyenne Parker, Monique Billings, they don't really have a lot. They've signed a few players. Mostly the training camp contracts, but the Atlanta Dream had the most cap to go out in free agency, and they didn't make a move. I was really surprised. They didn't make a move. I thought waiving Tiana Hawkins was stupid, and I think that's going to come back to bite them in the ass. Odyssey Sims was not re-signed. You still got Tiffany Hayes. She re-signed she re-signed. But other than that, Atlanta, they're just going to have to build. Shakira Austin, Ole Miss, formerly Maryland Terp, 6'5". I think she's a good rim protector. She's a good perimeter defender. But one thing I've noticed throughout the season, the games that I've tried to watch, she's not consistent enough. And I feel like you're going to need at least a year or 2 for her game to develop. And particularly on both sides of the ball, it's not there yet. I'm not going to say I believe she's going to need at least a year to fully develop. Now, she has all the potential to be a top 3 pick, but her ceiling right now is not where I would go, okay, yeah. Because also, too, let's keep it real. She's going to be – now, I'm not going to say work in progress, but expect her – you're going to see a lot of growing pains in this next season. Now, I can't see anybody else that they could tuck. Now, in my notes, I had them taking Naz Hillman or Naira Sabli. But my only concern with Naira is her injuries. And I think she would be good. But I'm going to say Shakira Austin for right now. With that being said, the 4th overall pick, the Dallas Wings select Naira Sabli. I misspelled the name. I forgot the extra L. Hold on. L, excuse me. My only concern with this pick is she's a junior. So she was redshirted. So I mean, she's a senior, but I believe, she's shown that she can be a good WNBA ball player. She's really good on the fast break, create shots, and she's got a good jump shot from the perimeter. Now, the only nagging issue with her is injuries. She tore her ACL twice. Last year, missed 8 games due to knee issues, and I'm just not. That's my concern. I like Charlie Collier, and I think Indiana. I think really, in Dallas. This is just me. I feel like you can move. If you can find something for Isabel Harrison, because I don't think you can keep everybody. I think you're going to have to. So you can expand the roster, and you don't really have the cap neither. So somebody's going to be moved. That's where I think a trade's going to come in. That's just my opinion for Dallas. So with the 5th overall pick, the New York Liberty select Naz Hillman out of Michigan. Yes, my top 5. Bro, for that reason alone, you shouldn't draft her with them bad legs. But, I mean, again, she's shown flashes. She's definitely shown that she can be a good player. It's just the biggest thing is just staying healthy. And I believe she will, and I believe that will happen. So we'll see. Now, Naz out of Michigan, I think I feel like would definitely be a good fit for New York. She could play alongside Asia Durr, Dee Richards, Sabrina Nesco. You got Steffi Dolson, Benijah Laney. I definitely think Naz would be good for that. My only concern with the sign with Steffi Dolson, her tendency to foul, and I'm Kylie Shook. I don't see it just yet. So I definitely feel like Naz would be good for them. Especially at the elbow. She's got some ball handling skills. She definitely can be a good for that. I do like what I like about her game. Her decision making is also pretty good. Particularly, example, we played them. Maryland played them, was really, really well. I definitely think she's shown flashes of being a good finisher as a post player. Just exploiting double teams, from either way, setting screens, just something like that. I think she would definitely be a good player for the New York Liberty. With the 6th overall pick, the Dallas Wings select Kirsten Bell. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why do you have Dallas taking a point guard? Because I think they could use a backup, a point guard. I like Mariah Jefferson. I do. But coming out of Florida Gulf Coast, I like her game. I like her ability to push the ball in transition, and she can score practically anywhere on the floor. She kind of reminds me of kind of like Gabby Williams, almost. That's what she kind of reminds me of. Now again, I understand Florida Gulf Coast. They practically look at their schedule. They pretty much played weaker opponents and definitely the offense, their style of play. I've seen the highlights. Definitely, she took advantage of that. So I definitely feel like they could take a point guard that it wouldn't hurt. I don't feel like Dallas really needs interior because you got Charlie, and then you probably could look for a power forward. Makes sense to me. Now, with the 7th overall pick, the Indiana Fever select, Lorella Kabaja. If I'm saying that right, if I said that wrong, I apologize. Now, I feel like Indiana could use somebody to space the floor. It wouldn't hurt to have someone come off the bench. I mean, if you held my feet to the fire, I kind of can see someone coming off the bench. I know I said Nalasia Smith, but I think Indiana could use somebody that can definitely. I wouldn't say space the floor. Can help play the 4 and 5, because I definitely think. I don't know. I just see Lynn Dunn making a trade. I'm not saying Tierra McCowan's out of there, but I may have reached on this one. Indiana could have won with a point guard on this one, but you got Bria Hartley. I mean, there really truly wasn't any other position I could see that could have been traded for. I mean, I don't think you can take 2 centers practically, but she could play the 4. No, I think I might have reached on that one. But again, this is just a 1.0. We can all fix this. With the 8th overall pick, the Minnesota Lynx select Sky Cone. Only thing my concern is with Minnesota, they pretty much are running it back with the same squad, but they don't have a lot of money. I feel like they can consider. I actually was torn between her or Lorella, because I'm thinking of after next year when Sylvia follows, because this is going to be her upcoming season, will be her last year in the W. She's going to be out. So I'm thinking Minnesota should find her replacement. So why not? It made sense. Now what I read is going to be out for like the next 4 to 6 months because she tore her MCL. And I don't know. I mean, she's going to be pretty much, to what I've seen of her game, she's going to need at least a couple years to develop. That's just me. So we'll see. I definitely think she would fit. I think she'll fit very well in Minnesota. I do. With the 9th overall pick, the Los Angeles Sparks select Ashley Jones. This one was tough. I'm looking at Los Angeles. I think you got Liz Cambage, Nneka Ogwumike, Shanae Ogwumike. The biggest thing I looked at with Los Angeles need was wing depth. I definitely feel like, looking at their situation, like Erica Wheeler was gone. She got traded to Atlanta. So you got Kennedy Carter, you got Jordan Canada, Taya Cooper, Brittany Sykes. Why not look for a wing player? I think she's probably Ashley Jones out of Iowa State she can shoot the ball. I like her. To me, my only thing about I was doing my research, and I don't know where this. I feel like she's pretty much the focal point of the offense at Ohio State. I mean, I could pretty much just see her being a 3-and-D player. I can't see anything more than that for her. So I think Los Angeles would be a good fit for her. So we'll see. I will give her. I'm gonna say this might be a reach, but if you give her at least 2 good years, I think she'll develop. She'll definitely develop. And with the 10th overall pick, this is where I think with the trade, because I definitely think there's going to be a trade. With the 10th overall pick, the Indiana Fever select Nia Clouden out of Michigan State. I like her. Her stats across the board have improved. I definitely feel like playing alongside Kelsey Mitchell, Tiffany, you've got Tierra. If, because I doubted Indiana was going to, if in Nalasia Smith, the Indiana Fever, and Bria Hartley, the Indiana Fever can make the playoffs.
Guaranteed.
Because I think what Indiana was truly missing these past couple years was a true starting point guard. I like Lindsey Allen. I thought Kaiser would have been that person, but to me, it seems like after 1 year, well, you didn't exceed expectations. So, yeah, you're out the door. And now she's in Chicago. I definitely like the pick for Indiana. So, next, the Las Vegas Aces. Shout out to Rashard Milligan. Alyssa Kune. That's how he said it in my interview. Out of Sean's favorite school, North Carolina State. I feel like she would definitely would be a good pick for the Aces. She can space the floor a little bit. Her 3-point shot, I feel like it's going to need some developing. And I think overall, her body of work needs some work. I'm not going to go as I kind of you could put her, Asia Wilson, Dearica Hamby, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray. That starting five is not bad. So my only concern is I think Becky Hammond will get her in the right direction, get her feet going. So we'll see. We'll definitely see with that. If you held my feet to the fire, Alyssa's pretty good, but from what I saw, she definitely has to learn how to create opportunities for others. And the games that I saw on YouTube highlights, I didn't really see that. I didn't see that at all from her. And I feel like that, but I believe that's going to come with time. And then with the final pick in the first round, with the 12th overall pick, the Connecticut Sun select Ivana Westbrook. Look, the Connecticut Sun, I just feel like there was nothing else I think they could really address. I think the biggest issue was their backcourt last year. I like Jasmine Thomas. I like Brianne January before Brianne went to Seattle. But the biggest thing was their backcourt. When I was looking for them, I couldn't find them. Particularly shooting the ball. Now, don't get me wrong; they can play, they can shoot the ball, but they need. They need a different type of point guard. They need a scoring point guard. And I look at what they have: Dejanay Carrington, Kalia Charles, and Natisha Heidemann. They've got a backcourt, but I am looking at the fact that Jasmine is getting a little older. Courtney Williams, I like the signing, but I felt like it was a panic signing because it was, well, let's sign Courtney. Not because, it's Courtney Williams, but I just feel like, well, don't get me wrong. Courtney Williams is a walking bucket. I'm not going to deny that. But I do feel like it was kind of a panic signing because I don't think it's – I think her signing definitely brings a dynamic back to Connecticut before. We did face him in the finals 2 years ago. But I don't think – I don't know. I think honestly, truth, these last couple of years is egos. That's just me. And with that being said, that is my 1.0 mock draft for the WNBA. Again, this list can change for the all 12 first round picks. I do see a couple of trades happening. I'm confident that Ryan Howard and Nalissa Smith are the first and second round pick of the draft. Guaranteed. But I do see Lynn Dunn making some moves with the Indiana Fever, because Lynn Dunn, if you look at her team, she means business. I think she really wants to build something in Indiana. Not saying Tamika Catch didn't do that, but as I clean my glasses, we're going to transition into the last topic of the night, the moment you all been waiting for. Let me start you off with a question. If Johnny had 5 apples and he gave Sally 3, how many apples does Johnny have? Because the reason why I ask you that, if I offered you, let me ask you this question, and those that shout out to Ab and shout out to Sean Spencer. Let me ask you guys this question: if I offered you 3 years to pay for a house mortgage, a car, you don't have to worry about nothing coming out your pocket for 3 years. It's covered. Straight yes or no? No, there's no kick, there's no nothing. If you were offered for 3 years to have anything you wanted, whether it was a house, car, tuition, but not paid for, would you accept that? Just straight yes or no. As I'm waiting for okay, here we go. Of course. Thank you. Now, but you got to wonder, what's the catch? There is no catch. Because I'm going to tell you why there's no catch. Goes into my point. The New York Liberty were fined $500,000 because reportedly in the CBA, it's a violation of charting flights. And that can cause your team to be terminated, and it is a competitive edge. Now, Joe Tsai and his wife Clara own the New York Liberty after Mr. Mr. Dolan put them up for sale back in 2017, 2018, if I remember correctly. And in this article for Sports Illustrated, if you remember, that it talks about at first the New York Liberty went on this trip and it was nice. And then there was this issue of, well, how did, Dee Dee Richards, Sabrina Nesco at the All-Star game, how did that happen? Because there's some context here. I think that it's important for everyone to know. So we're going now into year 26 of the WNBA. The WNBA is owned 50% by the 30 teams of the NBA, and the other 50% is between each of the 12 WNBA teams. Now, in the article, it talked about there's a WNBA owner, and I quote, one who proudly proclaims the value of the WNBA team to be zero, according to multiple league sources. Thus, all he spends on his team is effectively a contribution toward the greater good of women's sports, and the others consistently invest in their teams, turning half of them into consistent profit makers. Now, I had to do my research. Each team is owned by a certain individual, so I had to do my research. I was very, very torn. The Mystics are owned by Monumental Sports. That's Ted Leonsis. The Connecticut Sun are owned by the Mohegan Sun. The Seattle Storm, they're owned, I believe it's all women's ownership group, like LCC, something like that. Hold on, let me pull it up. Because I saw this. And I was very, very surprised. Give me 1 second. Where is it? I have it in my screen, my photo somewhere. Robert Sarver owns the Sun. LCC with the Sparks, Magic Johnson. Bill Cameron. It could be anybody. It could be the owner for the Fever. I don't know. But it does make you wonder because Kathy Engelberg became the commissioner. And now remember, before Kathy Engelberg, they were just WNBA presidents. When Kathy Engelberg came in as commissioner in July 2019, the title change became commissioner. So she's technically the first commissioner of the league. Now, at that time, because 2017, with Jim Dillon, he sold the New York Liberty because the Liberty around that time they weren't playing at Madison Square Garden. They were playing some other arena, which was like not. It could hold less than 5,000 people. Now, Joe Tsai purchased the Liberty in January of 2019, and also the Barclays Center. Now, the CBA between the WNBA and the Players Association was agreed upon in January 2020. That's going to run through January. That's going to run through 2027. Now that also includes the maximum salary was raised from $119,500 to $215,000. That's 30%. Okay. Now, Kathy Engelberg, we all know when she came into the league, it's going to be a complete, let's just call it what it is, shit show. Okay? We understand that. From what the article said on Sports Illustrated, everything was going in the right direction. She had a plan. She had this plan on how to get revenue, how to get ticket sales, sponsorships, particularly, and also bringing in money, which hasn't been flowing into the league. How to, get the league pass merchandise available for sale. Then, unfortunately, COVID happened. So that throws everything into a combustible element. It turns into things kind of start to fall apart. Now, according to the article, because of COVID-19, because let's just keep it real, everybody lost money. Every league lost some type of money, and I think every team felt it. Every team for the WNBA in the fiscal year, according to the Sports Illustrated article, in 2019 had $27.7 million. By 2020, it was a whopping $11.1 million. That's a lot of money the league lost. Okay. Now, unfortunately, As a business, that's money, and you got to figure out what you're going to do. Now, then comes the idea of how to get money back invested into the league. According to the article, and I quote, the terms were laid out to owners by early 2021. A $50 million cash infusion, then investment from a combination of current owners, outside investors, which would call for the league to sell 20% of total inequity, working off a valuation of $200 million. Now, you've had a little bit of issues because you have owners, you have three groups. One group that wants to push the progressives. They want to see the WNBA more. They want to expand it. Then you've got the group, well, I simply don't have enough money to invest or what I can see it. Then you got the status quo, the old school owners. No, this is how we're going to do it. And that leaves that leaves some issues. Now, Mark Davis, he now owns Las Vegas Aces, son of the great Al Davis. Okay. Now, the biggest thing a lot of the players were talking about was how to improve the traveling conditions. For example, it was 2019, the Washington Mystics and the Las Vegas Aces, and there was a home game for us. That game had to be postponed because why? The Las Vegas Aces split up into three groups to take flights out of Dallas to get to DC. I remember Kayla McBride and a couple other girls at the time were like, to come off the plane and then get ready for the game, that's insane. That's crazy. And I'm sitting there going like, wait, they all split up and took three groups took three different flights to get to DC. That's crazy to me. Okay. Now, also in the article, it talked about how the league said that they had got an unofficial proposal from the New York Liberty to make charter flights the default option for all teams. In the article, it said Joe Tsai had found a way to make sure for 3 years, no team would have to worry about paying a dime out their pocket for flights. It got virtually no support.
Relationship with your
Oh
children.
my God.
Now, the WNBA comes back out with a statement, and I quote, at no point was there a New York Liberty proposal for the WNBA Board of Governors to consider offering 3 years worth of charter flights for WNBA teams. It was agreed that the Liberty would explore opportunities regarding charter flights and present it to the board. To date, does not happen.
Bullshit.
I'm going to tell you why that's BS. Because Joe Tsai tweeted out, it was in the summer, that he was sitting down with Kathy Engelberg on how to fix this solution. I can show you those tweets right now because he had said, right now we're coming up with a solution about how to make flying, the flying situation easy. This is his Twitter. We have receipts. The league says you can't charter because different owners have different financial circumstances. I'm working with Commissioner Engelberg to find a charter sponsor. Conversations with airline CEOs are going well. They get the idea of equality for women athletes. That's his tweet. then why would you come out with this statement as a league to sit there and say they never promoted anything like that? It was agreed they looked for a solution, but there was no agreement for that. Now, here's the issue. There are owners that felt like players would get comfortable. Some were like, well, we can just pay them more. Because let me just put in the context for you. The women have to pay for their own flights. Liz Cambage came up with a tweet after the Becky Hammon hiring for her record $1 million. I'm happy she got it. And tweeted the same WNBA where I have to pay for my own seating. The Connecticut Sun and the Chicago Sky last playoff series the Connecticut Sun had to take 3 separate flights because they didn't want to sit in middle class. Or coach. Now, there's other examples of this happening. Now, there was a letter by the alternative governor. His name is Oliver Weinsberg. And I quote, "The focus on objecting to better travel arrangements seems to go against the spirit of what the entire league is trying to achieve under the leadership of WNBA Commissioner Courtney Engelberg. We cannot begin to talk about gender equality until we solve some of the pressing issues that have put extra burdens on the health and well-being of WNBA players. And the spirit of improving working conditions for our female athletes, we are of the strong belief that the WNBA should be permitted to arrange travel that is consistent with the fact that they are professional athletes. Because a team sees their players as athletes, even though it's a violation, they're still athletes. In other words, see, this is my question to the owners that didn't back this, because I think to me, if I was an owner, I'm thinking to myself, wow, for 3 years, I don't have to worry about how much money it's going to cost me. You know, first and foremost, let me just say this. As an owner, and I turned that down, you know what that says? I don't give 2 cents about my players' health and their safety and their well-being. They're at an airport, oh well. They'll get to their destination at some point. I'm paying for the flight. Let me read that last part again. We are in the strong belief that WNBA teams should be permitted to arrange travel that is consistent with the fact that they are professional athletes. Meanwhile, you've got owners that are like, well, if we just pay them more money, everything will be okay. Now, it was also said in the article that this story, this issue with the New York Liberty charting flights, they didn't want this to come out in the midst of the playoffs. Why? Because you had the Phoenix Mercury and the New York Liberty, and they didn't want something like this off the court to spread its wings. So what does everybody do? We keep it on the hush hush. Now, just so you know, the New York Liberty did not charter a flight to Phoenix. They lost that game. Should have won that game, by the way. But in retrospect, they were initially fined $1 million. But I'm paraphrasing it like it's in the article. Kathy Engelberg called him up, cut a deal with Joe Tsai and said, look, we are going to let bygones be bygones, pay $500,000, and basically saying, don't do that again. At any point, there was no talk of draft picks and other things that could have been taken away from the Liberty. Now, and the article also stated that there was this issue of a competitive edge. Like one person said one WNBA front office member said, like, they shouldn't even be in the playoffs because of that. Now, let's keep it real. You look at the other women leagues, Trinity Rodman, the daughter of the great Dennis Rodman, for the next 4 years is going to make $1.1 million. Michelle Kang brought the Washington Spirit for $35 million. Okay, and we just seen investments by the Premier Hockey Federation League and the Women's National Soccer League invest money into its leagues. What am I saying? The WNBA holds the WNBA back from being great, people. Like another opportunity on its face and pretty much go, nah, we're good. Like the National Women's Soccer League, according to the article, something like $100 million worth of investments. Like, do you know what Trinity Rodman's making for that money she's going to make? There's no WNBA salary that's going to even touch that. The reason why they did it, why? Because Trinity Rodman could have made more money overseas. That's a fact. The same thing with the WNBA. These girls can make more money overseas. And some of these owners aren't seeing that. Like, the issue is, I understand that there are owners that want to see the league progress, but it seems to be a disconnect. We seem to have a lack of communication. So you've left me with just a couple choices. You can either take accountability or you can sell the team. I'm going to give you an example in the article. Mark Davis, and I quote, before he had purchased the Las Vegas Aces, his name was Bill Hornbuckle. He was the owner of MG for the Aces. This is what he said in a Zoom call, and I quote, I keep telling him every game as a fan, you've got to pay these players more money. You've got to pay these players more money. And he finally looked at me and said, listen, if you want them to be paid more money, buy the team. You pay them. And that's what we eventually did. And the problem I ran to and right away is that I want the women to make more money, but it's collectively bargained. Becky Hammond's contract, the $1 million, ladies and gentlemen, isn't collectively bargained, but the player's salary is. Now, it's not in the CBA, but trying to get charter flights is. Mark Davis wants to see that changed. Joe Tsai wants to see that changed. Breonna Stewart, and just to knock this out the park, you've got Breonna Stewart, one of the best in the game. Steffi Dolson signed with them. When you come out, and I quote, the entire franchise just really cares about their players. This is what Steffi Dolson said. They care about the level of basketball they put on the floor, which we can produce the best when we're not really worried about the other stuff. Like when we're going to practice, how we're traveling, what's the schedule, just like the other stuff. We can focus on basketball and we can put the best product out there. That says a lot about the other teams. Now, I'm not saying the Mystics are like that. I can't make the assumption for other teams. But could you imagine if Steffi Dolson didn't run it back 1 year that said, Sue, you've been good to me, but I'm going because she's from that. She's from New York. Brianna Stewart. She's from that area. I'm going to New York, and I guarantee you, next season, Brianna Stewart is going to be a member of the New York Liberty.
Guarantee.
What am I saying here, ladies and gentlemen? We can talk about expanding to Toronto, Oakland, all this other stuff, but the fundamental issues that the WNBA is facing, these are exactly the things that we as fans are pointing this stuff out. Yet, I have yet to hear Kathy Engelberg come up with a statement. I think this statement, hold on. Let me make sure I grab this. Let me make sure I don't miss anything quote from quote. I want to make sure I have it correctly. Correctly said. Remember, this was a statement from a spokesperson where I said earlier, and I quote, "At no point was there a New York Liberty proposal for the Board of Governors to consider offering 3-year worth of charter flights for WNBA teams. It was agreed that the Liberty would explore opportunities regarding charter flights and present it to the board. To date, that's not happened." End quote. BS. You have other players, Sabrina Eskel, Isabel Harrison. I seen that Alexi Brown, other athletes. Now I see it. Now, because you've pretty much now as a league exposed yourself, because these women deserve better than what they're getting as a league. Now, this is just me. This is how I feel. Y'all agreed to that CBA. And I understand it. I get it. Just like Major League Baseball, they're catching up. But these are the kind of things that people don't look at. I'm not talking about the players. I'm talking about when you have these people out on this platform or others talking about the WNBA can't do this because of this, or if they lowered the rim, they did this, and not look at the fundamental issues that holds the league back and what can be done to make it successful. I think it's utterly a shame that, one, as a league, you have practically a division of owners, simply ones that can't afford it. If you can't afford to keep your team, help your team grow, sell it. And obviously, if David Stern was alive, in my opinion, he'd have cleaned house. That's just me. I need Kathy Engelberg to come out and say something, because the commissioner speaks for the owners. Okay, they do. But we cannot have this silence, and you have players publicly speaking out about it, and on top of that, you got fans practically saying this is what you could do to help the W grow, and it just goes in one ear and out the other. To me, what Joe Tsai did, I applaud it, because why? He sees them as athletes too. And to fine him for wanting to ensure that his players got from point A to point B safely, I see nothing wrong with that. Oh, and by the way, the fact that there was a competitive edge to that, the flights that the New York Liberty chartered, now I'm not taking a shot at Liberty, they went 2-9. So that competitive edge,
bullshit.
I don't want to hear that. So what are we going to do now? So, because obviously, if you're saying that there's no proposal at the table So what's up? Because Joe Tsai seems like he telling the truth. Either we have people going, nope, don't say anything. Like, we ain't gotta say nothing. Or because something ain't, because there's no reason why. Number one, let me end it off with this. First of all, somebody had to rat. So that needs to be asked. So where that came out of. So where did this come from? Number two, we can tell that this is pretty much falling on deaf ears. And number three, this is another example of the WNBA holding the WNBA from being great. It's sad. It's truly sad.
So when are we going to say something about it? You know what? I'm going to walk away. I'll be right back because I'm scared I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble because I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
I'm going to end it off with this little quote by, I follow him on Twitter. His name is K.Lou. And we were on the Twitter space with shout out to Courtney Williams, on Women's Sports Wednesdays. And she was on yesterday, Tuesday, excuse me, because of this story that broke. And he said in the end, quote, "When does growing pains turn into growth gain?" And that's profoundly a good question. When do we see growing pains turn into growth? Because we see potential with the league. With the WNBA, it just seems like it's kind of like when you're at the plate and you're ready to take that swing, but the bat ain't coming off your shoulders. That's the WNBA. And I feel bad. I feel bad for the ladies. I'm talking about the players, the ladies. I feel bad for them because they deserve better than what they're getting. They really do.
It's ridiculous. It's obvious what's being done out here. It's on a nightly basis. I hope the world can see now what's really going on out here because it's getting ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. Yes, man. This is ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
You know what? Because the more I say is, y'all have a good night. Take it easy. Stay up. See you Friday.
Listen, I'm easy to find. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.